Okay, guys, we need to talk about Vecna from Stranger Things Season 4. Now, this is, of course, heavy spoiler alerts if you haven't seen up to the mid-season finale, so I recommend you do that. Otherwise, don't complain, you've been warned. Now, look, Vecna is a humanoid monster from the Upside Down that is described as a 5-star general of the Mind Flayer. Now, the Mind Flayer, we'll get into that another time because that's extremely complicated in D&D lore and how all of this fits together. In any case, in Season 4 of Stranger Things, Vecna is the chief antagonist and a threat to Hawkins and the universe in which it resides. He plans on doing this by attacking and murdering individuals in ritual sacrifice to open dimensional gates that will allow all of the inhabitants of the monster dimension, aka the Upside Down, into the world to dominate all living things. In Dungeons & Dragons lore, Vecna is credited with the quote, "Evil is not an absence of good. It is not a choice. Evil is one of two forces in the cosmos, an agency locked in eternal struggle against its antithesis. Only good and evil exist, and not even a hair's width of space separates them." Now, by the end of this mid-season finale, Vecna has murdered Chrissy, Fred, and Patrick, while also having Max and Nancy on his murder list. He seems to choose his victims based on their own trauma, presumably because it makes them easy targets to occupy and haunt their thoughts. Notably, in folklore and mythology, prolonged trauma is one thing that has been said to allow demonic possession to take root in the vessel of humans. Trauma itself causes a weakening of the mind and lowers our natural mental defenses against evil forces. There was also another link to trauma here, specifically MKUltra. Since the 1950s, the CIA was conducting mind control experiments and testing the limits of the human psyche. Through human experimentation, the CIA was trying to find ways to weaken enemies in order to force out information through these mind control methods. According to real-life CIA documents, the operation focused on chemical, biological, and radiological methods of mind control. Notably, the breaking of human will through induced trauma was one key aspect of the project. The test subjects went through sensory deprivation, hypnosis, electroshock, abuse, and other forms of torture. Now, in terms of Stranger Things, I ask you guys, does this sound familiar? Also, as a side note, isn't it interesting that the CIA, IRL in real life, and demonic forces would use the same doorway to the mind? In any case, Vecna is not only the baddest dude in Stranger Things Season 4, he is also based on an evil character in Dungeons & Dragons. And that story stems from the world of Greyhawk, created by Gary Gygax back in the day, and released as the first supplement to the Dungeons & Dragons role-playing game in 1976. It is a long and sordid tale, but the important thing to know is where Vecna came from and what his long-term goal happens to be. Now, if you don't know who Gary Gygax is, by the way, he's literally the original Dungeon Master. He's the guy that created Dungeons & Dragons way back before it was a thing, and his actual first campaign, his home brew campaign, if you guys are familiar with the terms, was Greyhawk. It's pretty amazing stuff that we have all of this sort of tracing back not to folklore and, let's say, real CIA MKUltra type stuff, but then also the Duffer brothers have done a fantastic job weaving all of this into the narrative of Stranger Things itself. Now, Vecna actually began as a powerful human wizard that discovered a way to cheat death itself. Nobody knows exactly how he accomplished this, but all wisdom agrees with this assessment. He became the most powerful lich in the multiverse and aspired to become a god. Some notable parallels would be a mix between Thanos and Gore the God Butcher, if they existed in D&D lore. And of course, those are two examples from the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and of course the Marvel Comics. Vecna, his entire goal was to destroy all other gods so he could rule the multiverse by himself. Back to a lich for D&D noobs, and I hate to call you that because, well, we're all learning here together, but a lich is exactly as described. A sorcerer so powerful, they've discovered a magical way to become undead. The term lich is simply Old English that translates to the word corpse, magically animated or otherwise. Now, this modern version of a lich was also invented by Gary Gygax, the original dungeon master, when he created D&D back in the 70s. So, Vecna became the big daddy of all liches and eventually succeeded in his quest to become an actual god, which of course leads us back to Stranger Things. Dustin named this new villain after the character in the D&D campaign that was orchestrated by Eddie and his Hellfire Club. Given string theory and a multiverse with unlimited possibilities, this could possibly be the same Vecna, the same super lich that has his aspirations set on domination of all things. Remember that trauma bit? There's also another parallel here that makes it all come together. One more crucial detail about Vecna is this. Attributed to D&D lore, Vecna believed that every being in existence held a single secret that could be manipulated to bring about its destruction. Uncovering that secret and exploiting its truth was the key to dominion over others. And there you go. I think that probably rounds this out and gives us a good idea of who Vecna is and what Vecna possibly wants. But what do you guys think? Do you think that Vecna, the same Vecna here that we're talking about in Stranger Things 4, could actually be the same Vecna from Dungeons & Dragons? If you like these videos, you know what to do. Leave a thumbs up, like and share the videos. Please subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you want to hear next. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys in the next video.